Hi, it's me, it's Morel. I'm doing a longer video this time instead of a stream. So hi. I was thinking for a long time about what I could do for videos because I would love to do like videos alongside the stream and the occasional short that I make when I cry on stream or crash out playing Dead Space. And I thought, what really works that I actually I do and I'm passionate about that I could turn into a video. Oh, I just winked at the camera there. What am I passionate about? That was the most awkward wink ever. But I was thinking what do I do in my spare time? I ride bikes. I make dice. So I thought, what would be a really cute little series to do would be making streamer dice. So dice themed on all of my streamer friends, which is what we're gonna do. So today we are going to do Morel themed dice because I am my own friend. It's something I've worked very hard on over the past few years and I'm still not quite there, but we are getting close. I am friendly with myself now, which is great. So we're going to make some little Morel themed dice. The plan is to do like a little terrarium dice with some mushrooms that are 3D printed. We're going to do 2 molds, so one that's got little printed crow skulls in them as well, and some little ferns and like little plants. And I don't know how well it's going to go, because this is still very much a learning experience for me. I'm very into making dice. I'm very passionate about it and I do it a lot, but I am not good at it. And I've only been doing it for a few months. So we're kind of in like this limbo state where I can nail the basics down fairly well, but they're not incredible. They're not the best. They could be better. And every time I've tried to do dice in this sort of style where it's got a blank in the middle of it, which is essentially a dice within a dice. So you have, with the first casting we're going to do, this is going to be a multi-cast in the pressure pot. The first cast, which is going to have our mushrooms and leaves in it, is essentially smaller than the final dice and has no numbers on it. So what you can do is you can put them. See, I know what I'm talking about, but I also don't know what I'm talking about. I'm chatting out my backside. So these dice, you have the blanks, which are essentially like a smaller die with no numbers on them, which go in the middle of the main dice set. And it means that you can have things in the dice, they don't like come right up to the edge, which sometimes can like throw it off of like sanding, cause issues, can affect the balance of the dice as well. It's not like the end of the world, but it's better. And this also works with the terrarium set that we're going to do. So once we have the blanks, we're going to paint in gold across all of the edges of each dice. So it should have like this really cute kind of like you're looking in, like a little terrarium. You're looking into a little terrarium. So that's the plan. I am going to change you guys over to hand cam. Yeah, we've got a hand cam for this one, which is going to be insane. And with that, I'm also going to pass over to Mini Morel for the first start where we talk through everything. And then I'm going to change to voiceover future Morel as soon as we open the resin. Because it is worth bearing in mind with this, folks. If you're watching this with the intention of following along and learning how to make your own dice, epoxy resin is really, really toxic. So you always wear gloves. You always do it in a ventilated space. I have a window open directly above me. And you always wear a mask. Otherwise, it will wreak havoc on your skin and your respiratory system. And I already have bad enough skin at the moment because the water where I live in the woods, in my grotto in the woods, is for some reason so damn hard that my skin is already in pieces. So I can't risk getting half a litre of epoxy resin on my hands because it will destroy me. And it might well destroy you guys too. And we don't want that. We want this to be a nice, fun, relaxing hobby if people were watching this to try and take it on. I've been talking for 5 minutes. This is going to be a really long video. But hey, these are going to be some cute dice. It's going to be worth it. I am going to change over to Little Morel. Say hi to Little Morel. Oh my god! Hi, it's me, Little Morel. Big Morel, Little Morel, welcome to our grotto. Yay! And Handcam, hi! This is a very messy little bit of parchment paper that I have been using today to paint my little 3D printed mushrooms. Because I'm a little mushroom girly. Even though I hate mushrooms as food. I don't do mushrooms. I don't know why I paused, like, suspicious. I don't do mushrooms. I don't eat mushrooms. I think they're yucky. But aesthetically, I think they're really, really cute. Which is why they're my aesthetic. We have some little tiny 3D printed crow's skulls, which is going to go in one of the sets of dice to see how it spices things up and changes them. We've got 2 blank mold sets. They're a little resiny because it just stuck, because this one's Tincure resin, Tincure silicone, and for some reason resin likes to stick to it a bit more, I found on the outside. But yeah, ooh, a bit of flashing in there still. So these are, if you see, there are no numbers in there, and they're ever so slightly smaller than the other dice sets, about 2 millimeters smaller, so that it doesn't interfere with the numbers. They don't get squashed, and they sit in fairly centrally. I made these ones myself, and they're not perfect, but they're pretty close, and they work. So we've got these, we've got our mushrooms, we've got our skulls, we've got a few little ferns, we've got some tweezers to get them in, some scissors to cut up the little leaves, and then we have the resin bits. We have a 100mm pot, because I'm also going to be casting some other dice today. I've got these blanks, which I have been working on. They're going to go into what I call gobbledygook dice. What I will be calling gobbledygook dice, so long as it works. I'm kind of working on trying to have all of my dice be kind of like fairly green, because the problem with resin is that, well, that was a weird old lizard blink. That was a weird old lizard blink, Morel. The problem with dice is, like, well, specifically with resin, is like it's not recyclable. If you have a problem, you make a set of dice that don't work so well. It just doesn't work out great. And there's also, like, always a bit of flashing between the caps of the molds. So yeah, we're doing our best to kind of try and eliminate that by cutting up all of the flashing failed dice into really, really tiny chunks. I saw someone on Instagram who does it, and I thought that's a really cute idea. So it goes into essentially a dice blank, and yeah, your dice blanks come out quite matte. You can have them polished, but once they go into resin, they essentially polish themselves out and become clear. So you don't actually need to go through the full polishing stage with them, which is really, really nice and saves so much time. But yeah, these will be clear and be like a hodgepodge mismatch of colors in there, essentially from all of our dice flashing and failed dice are going to be turned into just another set of dice, which I think could be really cute. They might look absolutely horrific because there's no kind of semblance of order to them, which give a little chaos. So almost like wild magic dice, if I really think about it. Wow, I really want to go for the wild magic dice. Buy my wild magic dice. No, they're not going to be, don't worry. So we've got a 100ml measuring pot, because I'm casting more dice, and we've got our resin. So this is 2-part epoxy resin. We have part A and part B, which is the hardener. This one is 1-to-1 in volume, but that being said, if you get it wrong, it's better to have more of part B than part A, because hardener, obviously you don't want massively more, but also a bit more hardener is very much not the end of the world. you know? So, first things first, we are going to get our mushrooms into our dice. So I'd already worked out we can only fit one in the d6, and we can fit two in. Oh wow, I've stuck those together so well. We can fit two in all of the others on a tight squeeze. So with these, what I want to try and go for is obviously one in every dice, unless we can fit two, which I believe we could in the d20 and the d12. And what I really want with these is for them to not be orderly. No. What I want for them is to not be orderly, but in the same orientation. Otherwise, it's a weird ass terrarium. I don't know why I said that. I don't want them to be orderly. I want them to look worse, actually. And then the d20. You know, so long as they are... Sorry, my model is freaking out a little because I'm pointing down. There we go. So that is number one, nice and easy. And then on to number two. We're gonna speed through this part because you have seen it already. And then our little crow skulls. And half and half. Don't mismatch our lids. Cool. So we've got all of our mushrooms, and then we are going to do an assortment of leaves. It is also really hard to do this while I've got a camera in front of my face, so I'm trying to go around it. And what we want is for these to come up from the same starting point. We don't want a lot of leaves because we don't want it to overpower the mushrooms. Because bear in mind that these are going to be smaller. But that being said, it is still very, very easy to think that you've used up all of the space in a mold, and then you pull out the dice and you think, wow, these dice are sparse. That happens to me a lot. So we are going to play it smart, and we're going to brush through this part on triple speed. And then we have our two completed dice blanks. When I was filling this one up, I have had an idea in the interest of trying something new. I have never tried a Petri style dice within a dice mold, within a blank mold, which I think could be really interesting with these dice. So we are going to cast these ones in clear, and these are going to be my Morel dice. And then for these, we are going to try and cast them with kind of like a green and brown Petri style of dice, which is kind of like it could, if it works out properly, look like little tendrils coming down from the top of the dice and grabbing the plants, the crow skulls, and the mushrooms, which could look absolutely gorgeous. But we're going to move over to future Morel for that with a voiceover, because I am about to open my resin, which means that the mask goes on. So, oh, you didn't like that? Ah, hello. I'm Mask Morel.
You can't even see my mouth moving anymore because it doesn't know what to do. Ah. Okay, that's enough of that. But yeah, we are going to change over to.
We are going to change over to future Morel voiceover and continue on with the dice. But hi, I'll still be here. Current Morel. Yeah. Yay.
Future Morel, present Morel. It's been a week and I can't remember exactly what I did. So this is going to be an interesting voiceover. But we're carrying on straight on with the resin. Obviously, this had to be a voiceover because of the mask. It's very toxic. You want to have proper ventilation, wear a mask and gloves. We're just going to mix it all up. This specific resin, and to be honest, most epoxy resin that I've bought, I've tried a few, have been mixed 1-to-1 in volume. So I mix 50ml with each so I can fill a few molds at the same time. Realistically, you want them to be equally matched, exactly 1-to-1. But if you're going to have more of one than the other, it's probably better to have more of part B, which is the hardener. Because let's be real, I mean, what's it going to be? More hardener? More hardener. God, this is a good voiceover. I'm doing the whole thing in one take. It's really important when you mix it, like I am here, and I'm about to speed up, that you mix it until there are no streaks, so that it's all fully incorporated. So you don't have like chunks that don't actually have any hardener in them, and you end up with like partially soft dice, or completely uncured messes, or partially cured messes, you know? There's no like hard science to pouring, except for you want to pour slow, like a slow, steady stream, and quite high, so you don't put in too many air bubbles. It's not so big of an issue of a pressure pot, but also you don't want to risk it that much. And usually you'd use a lighter to pop any bubbles that come up, because obviously we've got stuff in the molds, we've got the little leaves, and they could trap air, and eventually that will rise up and you can pop it and make sure there isn't going to be a void in your dice. But about here is where you'll start to see I had an idea for the second set, and that'll be what's known as a Petri style dice. So you see I've got 3 alcohol inks out, a dark green, a brown, specifically coffee, and white. And what you do with those is you layer them on, and the white sinks and pulls the other inks down with them. And it can be, I find it to be a little hit and miss because I don't have Blanco alcohol ink, which is really heavy. So you get kind of a hit and miss with it. But then they're going to go into the pressure pot for 24 hours at 35 to 40 psi. And then we'll be back in 24 hours. Wow, that was quick. Now we get to go straight to the demolding. Obviously, they've cured at this point, so I don't need my gloves. You see there's a little bit of raise on the mold. That was really worrying. And you'll see we still got a big old void. But luckily, we can deal with that. It's just a blank. So it doesn't have to be completely perfect, which is quite nice because it's going to be recast into another set. So all we're going to do with that is take some UV resin. Got a little bottle right here. And fill up the void and then cure it with a UV lamp, which is quite nice. So I've got a 3D print curing station which has a little like UV torch off it, which I use for my UV resins. So we're just filling it up, getting our torch. See, I give it a little bit of a wiggle. You don't have to do that, but I get bored. It doesn't have to go for long either because it's not that deep. So it cures super quickly, and then we can get to demolding, removing all the flashing. There is a lot of flashing, especially from the issues that we had. I am just speeding through this because otherwise I realised this was like a 15-minute long video. There was another little void on there, like some real small, tiny ones. And afterwards, they look cool. You can't see clearly into them just yet. Once they're encased in like another layer of resin, they'll be completely clear, which I like. But yeah, a little bit of sanding. We don't have to use a super high grit, get them polished or anything like that, because they're going to be clear once they go into the dice. A little wash off so you're not carrying a load of dust and debris into there. and we're kind of painting the terrarium effect, which is just going to be a little border around each dice. This is so fast. Oh my god, this is so fast. Why have I done this? Why have I sped this up so fast? This is so stressful. Help me. Help me. Help me. We're getting ready for the final pour. We're getting ready for the final pour. Oh my god, we're getting ready for the final pour. Again, we're doing the same mixing and putting each blank into the dies. We're pouring a little bit of resin in. Is this back to front? We're taking each... I'm keeping this in because it's funny. We're taking each one out by systematically removing a lump of resin in each one and then waiting another 24 hours to demold. Demolding all again. And we're going straight to paint because I did polish them, but the file corrupted. I had what I thought could be a cute idea for these main dice, my Morel dice, which were the non-peachy ones, and that was to go in this kind of red colour and has a load of white dots on there, so they were kind of like the numbers looked like the mushrooms, which I'll show. These were the peachy ones that I just did in gold because that was a shite roll as well. Because gold numbers look nice, and most of the dice I use have gold. And I'm not 100% sure on them, you know? I think that the red numbers looked really good, and then I did these dots, and it just became a bit too much, if that makes sense. So, God, I've got paint all over my fingers. But either way, I am still, like, super, super happy with them. And this has been a really bad video to show the process, because I sped through so much of it. But this was going to be such a long video anyway, and I am planning on doing more of these. So there are the dice. There are my dice. This was a really bad camera job. Okay, we are back to Cool, Calm and Collected Morel. I am no longer on a time limit of the insane amount of speed up that I did on the video. Sick! So I can just talk normally and freely. How great is that? I just wanted to say thank you for watching. I don't think this was the best representation of the dice that I make, and I am not going to pretend like I am completely over the moon with the numbering on the dice, but I made them. This is a thing that I made from start to finish, which I think is really cool. And I am really enjoying doing crafty stuff at the moment. And I absolutely adore making dice. I think these are some of the more complex ones that I've made thus far. And I think it's definitely a learning experience with working out what works with what. I'm really enjoying with dice because I'm not like an artistically creative person in the slightest bit. I've got a load of incredibly skilled friends who have worked for years and years and years on that, and I am never going to be a match for that. But dice feels a lot more like you can be so incredibly artistic with it. And like, it is an art form, don't get me wrong, but also there's a certain element of it that I can essentially throw things at a wall and see what sticks. I was working out whether I need to be PG for that. I probably should. Yeah, I can essentially just throw it at the wall and see what sticks. I can experiment. I can see what works and what doesn't. And more often than not, it comes out absolutely gorgeous. I've only had like 1 or 2 sets of dice that I've pulled out of the pressure pot and I've been like, oh, you're absolutely horribly disgusting. But even then, like, I've painted them and it's like, oh, now that you have painted numbers, you actually look really, really nice. And I like that. You know, it's nice. It's nice to make stuff, and I would urge people to do. If there's one thing that you can take away from this video, it's that crafting is fun, and more people should craft things and go back to the hobbies that we all had as kids, which, at least for me, was making stuff, and I lost that for a long time. But now I'm back doing it, and now I don't have a time limit, so I'm just rambling. But thank you very much for watching the video. I do plan to do more of these. I particularly wanted to essentially do like a little series where I make dice themed off of all of my streamer friends. So we got Nyx, Aurora, and Stara B as well. I'm going to do some. I've spoken to her about doing some dice for them, and we're gonna find. We're gonna go through all of my streamer friends. It might take a while because I'm horribly uncreative, and it will take me a while to find a theme for each of these different streamers that we all think is cute and nice. But it's going to be really interesting to see, and I might do some videos in the meantime if I do like some other cool, interesting dice, or just general dice, like different techniques and stuff. I'm really enjoying playing with Mylar at the moment, and I really love my Petri style dice like we had in there, and trying different colours of that. So I might just have more regular dice making videos. I'm making dice every day anyway, so I might as well record it. It's just the editing. It's just this part that takes me so long, so I've procrastinated this for like a week or so. Been at home every day, like, I should do that. But also no. I don't like video editing. It stresses me out. I'm not good at it. But I've been rambling again. I'm rambling. I should stop rambling. Continues to ramble. I'm going to end the video right here. Thank you very much for watching. If anyone knows how to make dice and has any feedback on anything that I did wrong or anything that I should try, I would really, really appreciate it. And if you're just here for the vibes, thank you for staying this long, because this has been a really long video. Okay, bye!